Now, unlike you guys who keep your kids first and foremost, here's somebody who barely even probably remembers the name, ages, and birthdays of his kids, Nathan Griffith. Do y'all remember how he got arrested for allegedly choking out his girlfriend? Well, listen, guards, let him out. We're going to talk about him. Yup, that's him. Nathan Griffith, shout out to the Ashley's Reality Roundup for some details that she managed to uncover about his arrest, you guys. And apparently, the arrest is even worse than we had imagined. So I've got the rundown on the arrest report, and it reads as follows. By the way, it's very, very graphic. So this definitely is a trigger warning because we will be discussing DV. Okay. So the police who was called to the scene said, and I quote, today, victim told, and we'll just use their names. Today, Anastasia told Nathan that they were breaking up and she got into her car to call his mom, Doris, the report states. While Anastasia was on the phone with his mom, he came out to get to the car and took her phone away from her, later giving it back. And so at this point, Anastasia stayed in the car. Nathan went back inside the house and called her. And when he called her, Nathan begged her to come back inside of the house and cuddle with him one last time. And Anastasia agreed as long as Nathan would leave. And this is where it gets ugly, right? Because at this point, he was just luring her. Right. And mind you, the two of them were living in a place that belonged to her family. So she gets back in the house, and this is where things go really, 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 really awry. While on the bed, laying down, Nathan got on top of Anastasia and grabbed both of her arms. At one point, he let go and wrapped both of his hands around her neck and strangled her for a couple of seconds. Nathan would let go of her neck and grab Anastasia's arms again. Nathan repeated this approximately 3 times. Anastasia was finally able to leave the residence and call the police. I observed reddening and multiple marks on her neck, as well as reddening on her right bicep area. Photos were taken of the injuries. You know, just even hearing this stuff, reading it is so freaking horrific. Why would he do that? Why? You know, and the fact that he has constantly done this, look at his wall of mugshots behind him, right? Half of those are from the strangulation. He has done this to several women. It's just his thing of choice, and it's weird. Very, very weird. So at this point in the police report, the officer had said that while Anastasia was on the phone with 911, Nathan came outside, then ran back in the house when he spotted the cops had pulled up. And so he ignored multiple commands to stop and turn around. He refused to come outside for officers, even after knocking on the door and speaking with him on the phone. Nathan was extremely intoxicated while talking with him on the phone, slurring his words and crying hysterically, is what they noted in their police report, right? And so when they ran him up in the system, they found that he was already on probation for attempted battery by, guess what? Strangulation, right? This was something that he did to his own sister, you guys. She had passed out because he had done it so hard. And so the police officers said that they had probable cause for 3 charges against Nathan, which were domestic battery, strangulation, violating his probation by consuming alcohol, and being uncooperative with officers. So there was more information provided in this report. They said, due to the fact that Nathan did use force or violence upon the person of another with whom he shares a domestic relationship by strangling her multiple times, has a history of strangulation, and Anastasia having marks around her neck, Nathan was arrested for domestic battery strangulation. So there you go, you guys. Honestly, I do not know what the hell, like what went wrong with this guy. When I see his family, we've seen what his mother, she seems so lovely, so attentive, so normal, right? How do people like this get produced? What is it, the war? You know, like what, but because this is like a lot, something that a lot of people say, that maybe he was traumatized when he went off to war or something like that, which I do imagine probably, was traumatizing to him. But what kind of trauma is it that he only ever goes after women? I imagine that he does get into disputes with men as well. However, you do not see him ever going after men in this sort of capacity, right? You never hear about him being violent against men. So to me, I think that it's just a manifestation of who he is. And I find that to be just so damn sad and scary. And, in fact, when he had done it to his sister, he made sure that his sister's husband was out of the house. His sister was nice enough to let him into her house. And so he was there, and she's married. She lives with her husband. Then her husband was out of the house. And that is when Nathan pounced, right? And in the case with Anastasia, like I told you guys, they've been staying at a home that belongs to their family. And I believe it was her mother as well, who's typically with them. And it wasn't until the mother went on vacation halfway around the world that Nathan did this. So it is very much, in my opinion, premeditated. He knows exactly what he's doing. It's not some kind of shock, like, dropped something on the floor. I gave him like, war flashbacks, and it's anybody who's, you know what I mean? No, like this is premeditated. Like he is dangerous. He is insane, and he needs to be locked up for life. Truly. How many times can you get arrested for strangling random women before the judge, especially while you're on probation, before the judge says, no, you've got to serve a mandatory minimum of like 20 years, but more likely, more hopefully, life at this point, because this is insane. It's disgusting and it's disturbing. Thanks for becoming a channel member, Bree. So nice to have you. And Nikki, it's so nice to hear it. Listen, sometimes when we're going through these like heavy stories, you got to have something to kind of like add a little bit of levity to it, because it is a little bit suffocating to get into these stories. And Michelle, are those regular fix or a mugshot wall? So it's a series of his different mugshots that I had found on Starcasm. Then I put them together to make a grid and slapped his face on top of it. I'm actually kind of thinking of, just adding some more to it, because there have been more arrests since. This is something that I made way back in the day when I was still living in Ottawa. Like this is at least like 5 years old or something like that. There have been many more mugshots and arrests since this happened. And thanks for becoming a member. As we have another new member, but I'm not able, hang on, let me pull it up here. So it's two Brees who became members at the same time. You'll love to see it, 444 and 449. Thank you to you too, Bree, for becoming a channel member. Thanks so much, you guys. It's so lovely to have you guys and to be able to share some exclusive content with you guys as well. I think there's still some more details that were released about this. Once again, shout out to the Ashley's Reality Roundup for getting her hands on the official police report. So after Nathan was arrested, his now ex-girlfriend, Anastasia, she had filled out a questionnaire, right, about the situation, right? And it's typical in DV cases. And so the questionnaire had asked her, about Nathan, their past behavior, things like that, right? And so when asked if Nathan, if she thought Nathan would try to delete her, she answered yes, right? Which would automatically deem the situation high risk and danger. And you know what? I don't think that she even exaggerated it at all. I do think that he is capable of that, right? And it's scary. That's what makes it so alarming, that they keep allowing this man out onto the streets, because unfortunately one day it's going to end up and result in that situation, right? And so when asked if Nathan had been, violently or consistently jealous, if he controls most of her daily activities, she also answered yes to that as well. And we also already had gotten a copy of, and it was actually Anastasia who had shared this on her Instagram. But remember, when Nathan was first locked up, he had called her to beg her to not show up to court so that they could drop these charges, right? So he, in my opinion, they should have already started charging him with witness intimidation as well, because it's highly, highly inappropriate. For one reason or another, I still do not understand, but it wasn't an automatic thing, that an automatic no contact order or just a general do not intimidate the witness thing in place between the two of them until after that phone call. So he cannot be penalized for that phone call. By the way, can I ask you guys, I've been saying Anastasia sometimes, Anastasia sometimes. I like both pronunciations, but I don't know. How does she prefer it? Is it Anastasia or Anastasia? Again, I like them both. I like the name. I think it's really beautiful. But somebody says that it sounds like anesthesia, and now I can't get it out of my head. China says, could you imagine if Nathan was Black and had this violent, dangerous history against women? The fact he's gotten away with so much is telling, right? And I do agree with you, right? Like, I'm struggling to wrap my mind around why somebody like this would be allowed out. It feels like they're waiting for somebody's life to end before they give him any kind of serious repercussions. And I don't understand why a woman has to be sacrificed for that. We already know that he's violent. We already know that he's dangerous. We already know over the past several years, 10 plus years, because he had done this to Janelle as well back in the 2010s. So we already know that he's capable of all these things, and he's been doing it for over a decade. So how, why, like, what is going on, right? I'm also wondering if they're also like giving him some sort of special treatment because he's a veteran, because the last time when he did this to his sister, they had put him under some sort of like a veteran program or something like that. It's all very, very scary stuff. And, I have to plug martial arts in this as well. Just because I'd been getting back into this, but I really, 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 truly strongly feel that, as women, especially, like, I think it's important to study some martial arts and whatnot, just in case anything like this, just to have certain techniques or whatever, God forbid any of us ever find ourselves in this kind of situation. But typically with men being much bigger than us, much stronger than us, you would need different ways to get out of certain situations, right? I hope, I don't know if it's strangulation, someone trying to do X, Y, or Z. And it's, not even just out on the streets, but even domestically, right? I think that typically when women are victims of violence, when women are victims of rape, things like that, it's with men that we know, right? And so I really, really, really do strongly feel strongly about women being in martial arts and whatnot, just to have the best chance possible at being able to defend ourselves, because this stuff is really, really, truly terrifying. Truly, honestly, I'm just so disturbed that, again, this man is still able to get out there. So the last time I did a video on this, they had said something to the effect of him getting a minimum. So this time, if he is found guilty of this, right? Last time against his sister, he was found guilty. They didn't give him much time, if any. They put him on some kind of probation situation. But this time, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it carries a minimum of 5 years. Still not enough, right? But minimum at the very least, right? Aaliyah says, why would Janelle defend him after going through it herself and again with David? Great question. And she's really quiet now, isn't she? I haven't seen her pop up, with her usual loud mouth and whatnot. The fact that she tried to bring this kind of a man into her house, the man doesn't care about the child that he has with her. He hasn't tried to make contact with that child in years. He goes to the child the last time he was supposed to see him, despite the fact that they live in the same state, right? And so he gets in trouble doing what he did to Janelle already to another woman. And her first instinct is to defend him, invite him to her house, invite him to sleep in her child's bed, get wrapped up in this, have the police situation involved in her house in front of her already traumatized children. It's absolutely insane. Then after that, she gets online, she harasses, she bullies this woman. Like, she truly is sick in the head. And it's never going to happen, right? But I wish that she would come out here and issue a public apology, because what she did to this girl is indefensible. It's unforgivable. It was cruel. It was malicious. It was disturbing. All this for Nathan, crazy. Gwen says 40% of U.S. cops surveyed said that they hurt their own wives at home. Birds of a feather Ouch. So, that is a theory as to why potentially it's not being taken as seriously as it is. But now at this point, I'm wondering about the judges, right? What's going on with the judges, right? Because they're the ones who determine how much time a person is going to spend in jail or in prison for these sorts of things. Now I'm looking at them wondering what it is that they're doing and why it is that they think that this is okay. That's the message that they are sending. TR1P says, if you're in the States and a woman, get a CCW too. Do you mind telling us what a CCW is? I don't really know what that is. Lynn says, Nathan would be so scary. And I agree. It seems like he gets like into a blackout blind rage. And that's like the most terrifying thing. Kel says, women need to put a higher premium on their safety. Regarding Nathan, his history, I agree. His history is well known. He should never be able to procure a date with any woman, period. And I agree, not to victim blame or anything like that, because we still support her. We believe her and everything. But ladies, you got to use Google, look up the people you're dating, whatever you can to get, criminal data, whatever you can, right? Articles written about them, anything, right? In this case, I feel like people who go out with people who are known, you're lucky, right? That this guy, when you search Nathan Griffith, 1,000,001 mugshots pop up, 1,000,001 articles telling you, stay away from this man. He strangles women. Here are all the names of the different women he strangled. Here's a photo of his mugshot, his photo shoot after each one he's done it to. This, like Kel says, it should send a message to you. I've got to stay away from this person, right? Like she says, put a higher premium on your own safety. You only have one life. Don't spend it trying to, save a man, change a man, this, that, or the other. This man is pushing 40. He's been at this for decades, right? That is just who he is, and you've got to leave him alone. Don't listen to any sob stories, no nothing, right? Rhymester says maybe Easton's on a break or on medication. You know what? Maybe she's on another bender with Tori over there. The way those two drink all the time. Janelle loves drama. She thrives on it, and I absolutely agree. She doesn't care. Says yes. My dad taught all his girls how to fight. Period. Right? Absolutely. Learn. Martial arts, whatever you can. My parents put us all into jiu-jitsu when we were younger as well for this reason. It's a concealed carry weapon. Okay. Thank you. So if you live in a country where you're able to do that, definitely look into that as well. Anything you can to be able to defend yourself, right? Because again, there's a big disadvantage between us and men. Chrissy says, good morning, Chrissy. Nice to see you. Bear spray, whatever you can, you guys. Bear spray is another really, really good option. Gwen says, in my state, you can look up court records. I highly recommend it. Please, guys, anything you can. Court records, Google anything you can. And do not listen to any sob stories. You do not need it. Right? It's not your job to fix anybody. You got to take people at face value, who they've shown themselves to be, right? If you find ugly stuff there, do not let somebody explain it all away. No, there's a reason, and they're a liar. Steph says, back in the day, men come home from work wanting their drink and meal ready and thank you with a smack across the face. The law doesn't care about DV. Yeah. And it's so damn sad, right? Like, you would think that we would have evolved to a better place by now, but unfortunately, that is not the case. Once again, so sorry to Anastasia, and I am supporting her 100,000%, and I truly, truly hope that we never see a free Nathan Griffith ever again. He does not belong in the streets.